Hello and welcome back to Hyperplay. Things have gone very quiet on the AYN Odin 3 front. You'd have been forgiven for thinking that it's a mythical god-tier emulation handheld device of legend, the sort of thing rarely seen but oft talked about. But now we get a proper view of the AYN Odin 3 and it looks absolutely beautiful. 4 colorways on show here. The clear blue didn't make the cut for whatever reason. You've got your black, the purist's choice, and your clear purple, not so clear. That is a hard front purple. If you backed the clear purple, let us know. Are you happy that it is opaque on the front and only transparent on the back? Still looks absolutely dandy. I'm sure you'll agree, and very soon we're going to get to some gameplay footage on the rainbow SKU, which you can see the design language shares a lot in common with the Odin 2's previous rainbow effort. But we reckon this is a lovely halfway house between the Retroid Pocket 5 with its 5.5-inch AMOLED screen and the Odin 2 Portal, which had a 7-inch screen, 6-inch screen here on the AYN Odin 3. And what a panel it purports to be too. 1920 by 1080, 152% saturation, absolutely glorious. The same pixels per inch as you'd find on the Odin 2 Portal, in fact. So it's going to be a real beauty. One of the best in gaming, without question. Here's confirmation of the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset inside, more on that very soon, and it's rocking Android 15. But enough of all that techno babble, you want to see some gameplay, and here we go. Android gaming, Wuthering Waves, and this showcase is as interesting for the systems it doesn't show as for the ones that it does, but here we go. Wuthering Waves looking absolutely spectacular. Very well chosen, seen this as well, because look at those deep purples and the lovely blacks that will radiate out, the deep blues as well. This OLED screen, if you love your OLED screens, then this is going to be the console for you, no question at all. Absolutely stunning stuff on the AYN Odin 3. Now, you may not have quite caught it earlier, but this is the 12 gigs of RAM model, and that is the sweet spot for all these types of consoles, we suggest, because that'll get you over the line with pretty much every Switch game you'd want to play, but also most of your PC games via Winlater or GameHub. That said, we do have more to say about the Snapdragon 8 Elite and Switch and PC gaming coming up very soon at the end of this gameplay showcase, so stick with us for that. We'll give you the very latest news on whether those fabled drivers are in the works or indeed already available for the Snapdragon 8 Elite, which is inside the AYN Odin 3. Let's have a look at the ergonomics here. Yeah, so you've got your standard Hall effect joysticks, very nice too. Excellent triggers. Hope those buttons aren't too clacky. Unfortunately, there's no way of ascertaining that from this footage because they have the sound cable plugged in, so you're not actually able to hear the tap-tap of the buttons. Will it be comfortable to hold without a grip? Maybe if your hands are slightly more on the diminutive side. I would say for my big burly man hands that it's going to be a little bit tricky, particularly to access that D-pad without a grip. There are the nice ergonomic bumps on the back, but we reckon that a grip will be required for many gamers. And we interrupt this broadcast to tell you that up on the AYN website, the Odin 3 grip is already available. 3 different colours. You get your black, your grey and your clear white. A clear white which is translucent. No clear blue or clear purple variant, sadly. Hey-ho. Though, of course, given the white is actually translucent / clear, it will do the job, I suppose. Now, I do just want to draw your attention to the blacks and the colours on show here, because that scene showcased the absolutely phenomenal quality of this Odin 3 panel. I have to admit, for my personal taste, I do find the blacks on the OLEDs a little bit too black sometimes. In fact, I'll often turn off HDR on GameHub, toggle that option off so that I can see a little bit better when rootling around in the dark caves of Metaphor Fantasio on my RP5. But for those who were born with OLED peepers firmly in place, not me, because I was born in 1990, the very concept of visible TVs and panels that you could actually see properly without jaggy lines all over the place hadn't yet been invented. But for those of you who do have your OLED peepers firmly in place, this will be an absolute delight for your eyeballs. So you can feast your eyes on this footage and decide whether the Odin 3 and its glorious 6-inch 1920 by 1080 120 Hz 650 nit brightness display of glory is for you, and I know it will be for many. Now you may notice a line on the right hand side of the screen that can be toggled off. That is just to bring out your in-house options with regard to upping your performance and other various parameters that the software allows you to. We tend to turn that off, I must admit, so we can get the full glory of these incredible OLED panels. All glass front, again, where do you stand on that? Personally, I love it. I think it's very smart, very cool. Don't mind wiping over the screen occasionally just to get rid of a few fingerprints here and there, although I know a good many of you can't abide a smudge lingering on your device. Fantastic colours and scenes. There we go. We do love for that particular explosive quality. Yeah, you won't be able to find a better panel in gaming at 6 inches than that on the AYN Odin 3. Now, of course, the Odin 3 with its Snapdragon 8 Elite is going to be able to power through all your Android games. So very curious that they've chosen to show PlayStation 2 God of War 2. I mean, of course, PlayStation 2 will be able to run fine. Very interesting, they haven't shown any Nintendo games, and maybe they're running scared of the world's greatest and most litigious legal department, as they often like to say in China. Even they, with their copyright dodging ways, are still running a bit scared of the big N. Maybe that's the reason they're not showing Nintendo games, or maybe it's because the Snapdragon 8 Elite struggles hugely with OpenGL bugs, and that causes a problem for N64, GameCube, Wii, and what have you. We'll get onto Switch in a moment. Of course, the AYN Odin 3 is going to be able to play PlayStation 2 through and through. There you go. Managed to segue my way out of that, or not. Do like the rainbow skittle buttons on this. Personally, I always go for black because I love my old 4x3 content when playing SNES games, integer scaled. But yes, absolutely beautiful colour options, whichever way you spin it for the AYN Odin 3. And AYN are really majoring on these purples everywhere. Purples on the white console there on the screensaver. You've got your clear purple colour option, and you've got your purple skies are glowering here in Sparta for God of War 2. Now do remember that AYN and Retroid are owned by the same company, Moorchip Technologies, hence the great common design language, like the D-pads there, the cross-square D-pads. And there you go, the lesser spotted clear blue was there. So much stronger the 8 Elite than the HN2, that is a given. And we are now moving to mass production and shipping next month, November. Having a quick look at the specification sheet of the Odin 3, just to refresh you, Adreno 830, coming onto that very soon, Android 15, at a nice weight of 390 grams, risks. And the risk is Snapdragon 8 Elite compatibility. Harder to develop drivers for the Snapdragon 8 Elite than previous and indeed subsequent Snapdragon chipsets, all to do with custom modular GPU slices, since you ask. Unfortunately, there's still no time frame on when custom graphical drivers will be available for the Adreno 830 inside the Snapdragon 8 Elite. But we understand that work is progressing within the Mesa development team, who code the new graphical drivers, and also in-house at Qualcomm, although their focus may be on drivers for the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, the new chipset offered by Qualcomm. But that's not necessarily a disaster, darling, because very handily the system driver that's been taken out of the newfangled Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 device has been applied to GameHub, and when used on your Snapdragon 8 Elite device, we'll see huge bumps in frame rates, as shown in this footage here, on a lot of games in GameHub, but not perhaps Spider-Man Miles Morales. Work to do there. So yes, excitingly, Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 drivers can work very nicely with your Odin 3. So even if the Snapdragon 8 Elite is overlooked going forwards, there is hope that new graphical drivers will be able to work on it in a sort of backwards compatibility kind of way. Expedition 33, very nice too. Very difficult to get that game to run on GameHub without the most powerful devices. But yes, we do know that the Snapdragon 8 Elite will be able to power through a lot of PC games emulated via Game Hub and win later, even Baldur's Gate 3. But we want to know about Switch emulation, don't we? Unfortunately, it's fallen to the Eden developers to get around the problem of Snapdragon 8 Elite compatibility, and they have done a fine job tweaking and bug fixing the system proprietary driver inside the Snapdragon 8 Elite and making it work very nicely. This is footage from Eden 0.0.3, and very soon there is going to be the 0.0.4 version, which promises still greater compatibility with 8 Elite devices. Well done, the developers of Eden. They are saving the day here, utilizing the system GPU drivers, finding workarounds and fixes to get your Switch games running lickety-split as they should on a device as powerful as the Snapdragon 8 Elite. For sure, if you're going to go and play a game, then if you've got a Game Hub or Win Later option, then choose that. But there are plenty of Switch games, of course, that are not also PC games, and here's one working very nicely too. So there is hope for the 8 Elite chipset. Just don't expect a slew of turnip drivers to come bounding out on GitHub every month or so to aid you in your quest. For more perfect emulation, mostly you're going to have to rely on the developers of the emulators themselves to find the fixes. And make sure you subscribe to Hyperplay, because we will point you in the right direction to all the places you need to get the most out of your 8 Elite device, like this guy, who is all over 8 Elite emulation on Switch and other platforms. Check him out.
Snapdragon 8 Elite using the brand new Eden emulator fixes. Yes, this is a pre-release, unofficial, but it works so great on the Snapdragon 8 Elite.
Thank goodness then for the hard work of the Eden emulator development team. They will need our support and above all our patience. And we hope and trust that other emulator developers will follow suit and do their best to work around the dearth of turnip drivers for the Snapdragon 8 Elite that is inside the Odin 3. Fingers crossed. So patience and perhaps a bit of tinkering on your part will be key. Here are the prices. Those super early birds have gone. Early bird 12 gig SKU, $399. Then you can avail yourself of all the lovely color options too. And breaking news, the Odin 3 is now up on AYN's website as well. Joyously, you can buy it with PayPal today. Same prices as shown before, $329 for the base model, $399 for the Pro 12 gig model, which is what we would recommend. Scrolling further down, you will see they also have these lovely accessories. This caught our eye, the Odin 3 carrying case, and their default option is the carrying case with the grip. That looks pretty cool. You can toggle that option and see the standard carrying case for the Odin 3 without the grip. It does rather suggest that the grip is going to be popular and indeed necessary. Do bear in mind, if you do buy through the AYN website, these will be sent out after the Indiegogo campaign, but we always prefer buying from the website. And if you do buy from the website, you'll also get a free TPU protective case for your Odin 3. Glorious! Website link in the description below. Of course, for $100 less, you can get the Conker Pocket Fit 12GB SKU G3 Gen 3 handheld, at least until the end of October. What do you think? Which one are you going to go for? If you need OLED, go for that Odin 3. If you don't, and you value greater compatibility and pickup and playability, then we suggest the Conker Pocket Fit might be a better device. Whichever you go for, they're both beauties and come highly recommended. Also highly recommended is leaving a like. Costs you nothing, quick tap really helps us and help us continue making these videos. To which end, please also subscribe if you want to see more. Come and join our merry band of 4,000 hyperplayers. We're putting on 500 subscribers each month. Chances are you're not subscribed, but you want to be, because we bring you the very first and the latest news and reviews in the emulation handheld world. We are cunningly positioned between China and America. Chances are you're also in America, so you can wake up to your morning cornflakes and have us regale you about the very best in the emulation world. These magnificent handheld consoles, kaleidoscope of colours in a beautifully plastic shell. Take care, many thanks for watching. Bye bye.